Welcome back to the Four Podmen, the wrestling podcast we bring you each and every week on the Dynamo Podcast Network. Head over to YouTube, smash that subscribe and bell notification button. Audio versions of the show are available through Anchor. And if you'd like to contact the show, you can contact us on Twitter at @TPodmen. Joining me tonight, obviously we're missing one of our men tonight, but joining me tonight as always, the podfather of the network, Ian Kelly. How we doing, Ian?
What is up, my brothers?
Good,
all good.
Nice fresh haircut there and beard trim, very nice.
Repping Bobby the Brain.
Nice.
Seems as we're going to be talking about announcers and all that kind of thing.
And only announcers. Yeah. Also joining me tonight, my hot tag partner, as always, the road dog, the D-O-double-G. How we doing, my man?
Oh, fuck yeah. Sunburned to a crisp, dehydrated, but I got a few beers in front of me and I'm out ready to run. So fuck yeah, let's do this.
And excellent. A shitload of rice in the house.
Well, this might be a surprise to our viewers, but we're actually going to do a review of AEW Double or Nothing. So I hope our viewers and subscribers appreciate the hard graft we put in this week to sustain 4 hours of this.
I think they will. I think we're going to get new viewers out of this one. I'm very optimistic.
This drives a level of different respect.
Support independent wrestling.
Where do we begin, man?
Yeah, Noel, you're driving this train. Jay wants to start.
Jay,
Jay,
me and you this week have had many conversations through outage of this product. Overall thoughts before we get into the really interesting detail.
I'll tell you what, before you men do that, I'll say one thing, right? And I will say one thing, and I love this about AEW, and there was many aspects of it that I did actually enjoy, but one thing that I absolutely love with AEW is that little throwback and it's obviously Cody's stuff and Tony Khan, that they have the old WCW wrestling. Do you know what I mean? The sets and the layout. I had to say, aesthetically, it looked absolutely beautiful. The way they had it set up, you know, the chips and all there, the entrance. I thought they done a really, really good job in their own stadium. So it really, like, in terms of
presentation,
and appealing to the eye, they have that down perfectly. But now you gentlemen go.
Just actually to add to that, I thought the crowds up on the balcony were real cool. They were like ECW style.
It was deadly,
kind of cool that way.
Yeah, it was cool. They really made it look good, I thought,
It felt like a big wrestling event. We haven't seen one of them in a while. The other company leans a little bit too heavily on technology and pizzazz. This one felt like a bunch of people paid tickets to see a bunch of men wrestle in 1998. And that came across. And again, even with Mania, it was nice, but it was very, very sparsely, crowded. They had them there, but this one actually felt like a rambunctious crowd ready to watch wrestling. Yeah, it been a while since we've seen that. And Jesus, never thought I'd say this, but it was good to have the marks back.
You gotta love the red states in US, don't you? Texas and Florida. It's like, get fucking right beside each other there, you fuckers.
Yeah.
Get involved.
Do I have to wear a mask? No. You're grand.
No, it's wrestling. Only masks in the ring.
Yeah. Lucha Libre mask. You can have one of them if you want.
Unless you're buying a mask off the merch stand.
The concession. The concession.
They probably missed an opportunity selling an AEW branded Lucha fucking mask to the fans. A Lucha COVID mask. They'd have all been in them. An audience of the same mask.
If Excalibur was anyway a worker, he would have had a bag full of them and ready to sell.
Maybe he did.
Well, I saw one in the crowd, to be fair, so maybe he did.
That was his brother.
That's the most he's made in one night.
Jay.
The event, yes.
Overall thoughts
it's frustrating with AEW. I can see potential. I can see it. I can see what they want. I can see what they're reaching for. But my Jesus, how hard do they try and how it comes across? It's like, slow steps. If you're going to build this slowly over time. Don't just keep throwing shit at us and expect it to stick. Like, I get why it has a lot of fans, and I get why it works as an alternative. But as an overall product for me, I'd hate to have to give it any Meltzer stars or a rating. I mean, 4 hours over 3 evenings, it was a lot of AEW at the same week. But like I said, I can see what they're striving and driving for. It's just, it needs focus. It needs focus so badly. It needs a general. It needs somebody to put it together and not let it feel so disconnected and disjointed at times, you know.
Yeah, it needs a guy in the back for sure. Like, you know, their version of Pat Patterson, which I'm sure there is one there. I mean, they have fucking everybody on their. I mean, I said myself, I don't know how Kevin Sullivan wasn't booked to maybe even do some, you know, come in and do some of that. I mean, Kevin Sullivan, in fairness to him, done a lot of that for WCW, and I know he might not have been at, say, Pat Patterson's level, but he was a damn good man in the back to help lads with finishes. And you know, well, especially with the young up and coming guys, maybe not necessarily the veterans. Not that there's many veterans actually working in AEW.
But the problem with that, like, I think, is it's not so much. Pat would have been great, but Pat was unique in the sense that, almost like fucking Ferguson with the kids coming through the academy, he was in charge from the get-go when they were young with an attitude. This is a compendium of the best from all around the world fucked into the same place at the same time. It's egos galore. It would need to be a very big man with a very loud voice, a very clear vision, and a serious authority to just get these all in line and make them realize.
There's one there already on the payroll, Arn Anderson.
Look, this is a level even way above Arn. Do you know what I mean? I think he's already there. I think it's Dustin, but Dustin is too ring focused and he runs a training academy with them, doesn't he?
Yeah, but it's kind of a different story though, Jay. Like, I mean, it's like with Pat Patterson and all, who wasn't necessarily like the biggest star in the world. You would think that the guys are there. Like, I mean, the Undertaker probably wouldn't be good at going in and doing that job and marshalling the troops in terms of getting them.
No, absolutely, yeah.
Telling them. So I think you're right with Dustin. He potentially could be, and I'd say he could train and teach guys. But what I'm saying is, they need guys, proper agents, like, you know, backstage, that can go over these matches with these guys and say, look, this isn't an indie circus show here. Like, you need to fucking actually let me know what you're doing. Tell me the story that you're trying to tell, and we'll figure this thing out. You know what I mean? But at the moment, It seems like a bit of a free-for-all.
We spoke about this exact point before, and I think the only man on the planet who's capable of creating this product to where it needs to be as a whole is possibly Fifth Finlay. I think he's the man. I think he'll never leave. He'll never leave the other fella, but I think he's got the authority, he's got the hard nose, he's got the vision, he has the practical ability, and he has global wrestling education. He's been in charge or been involved in all the different factors and facets of, like, I mean, AEW has attempted to put together a global wrestling federation with the little aspects of Mexico and Japan and North America and the UK, and it's like, look, globally, these territories are strong where people grew up watching them, but they don't tend to cross over too often, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they're trying to do that there. They're trying to create a melting pot, and I don't know.
I actually don't think there's a person on the planet or persons on the planet that can fix this. I don't think it can be fixed. And the reason I'm saying that is the biggest problem in that organization at the moment is the senior guys that are in there.
But Tony Khan is the big problem too.
No, but I don't mean in terms of that. I mean the senior guys, as in terms of, I'm looking at Cody Rhodes, I'm looking at the Bucks, I'm looking at Kenny Omega, I'm looking at John Moxley, and I actually believe that's the problem. These guys will not listen to anyone. It doesn't matter who goes in there.
Well, I gotta say, especially the Bucks and Kenny Omega. I think Cody, to a certain extent, he has wrestling alumni. He knows the shit. He's done it in the background. He's not like. Fair enough, he's presenting himself as a star, and he is a star, to be fair. He's one of the only actual real stars in that company, to be honest with you, that's built a brand beforehand on national television, was a household name. Aside, you know, other than Jericho is what I mean. You know, Moxley still wasn't quite there yet. Do you know what I mean? But Cody was. He has the royal blood in his fucking veins. And I think Cody, to be fair, has had great matches, and he's brought people to great matches. He put people over like Darby Allin. He helped put Darby Allin over as well. Whereas the other three imbeciles, like absolute fucking imbeciles, Kenny fucking geriatric fucking jazz hands Omega, who I get corrected all the time. You don't know what you're talking about. Okay, tell me what I'm talking about. What is he? What is he? He doesn't even know what he is.
Well, when we get into that match tonight, we'll tell what it's all about.
Yeah, he's a frizzy-haired pole dancer on ecstasy tablets half the fucking time.
I just firmly believe. I don't think. Do you know something? And I'm not being bad. I think if Vince McMahon and Triple H went in there, they still wouldn't be listened to. I just think these guys have an idea of what they think the business is, and the business is about been smart and marky and sell shirts and try and be funny and try and get little jibes and little tricks over and stuff like that, instead of focusing on producing an actual wrestling match.
Like, let's annoy Jim Cornette because he slags us. Let's make shots at Jim Cornette. But imagine calling the finishing move a Meltzer driver. Like, seriously, that's the level
that's a troll. There's a bit of trolling going on there. But I think you might be right. I think, and essentially when they all sat down together, it was like, let's put together a great wrestling show. But now they've got too tired of competing with each other in this under the same roof, where they've just all kind of the three executive VIPs, or whatever they call themselves, have pulled a section of the show. It's like, okay, this is my 40 minutes of the show. You've got your 40 minutes of the show. You have your 40 minutes of the show, and the rest of the roster are using whatever's left in the time slot to try to do something.
They're using the billionaires' money to fucking literally do what the hell they want. And Jericho's there for the ride. I mean, have you ever seen a man lose his legacy as quickly as Chris Jericho in the wrestling world?
We'll be getting into that match as well, don't worry. Yeah. But I mean, when you look at it overall, it's funny as well when you look at the fan base as well, because you look at a show like this where there was so much fucking haphazard fucking shite getting thrown at people.
You know, things are bad when the shopkeeper's bringing out the cuss words.
And then, I'm not even talking about that, but then all of a sudden they give you a wrestling match, and the fucking crowd are shitting on the wrestling match because they're going, what the fuck is this?
Yes.
And then you're going, it says it on the fucking marquee, fools.
Do you know what I mean? Do you know what state you're in? You ever hear of a thing called Florida Championship Wrestling, you absolute buffoons? Yeah, I agree.
I just got so fired up. I tried to watch it and get down through it. And I actually, believe it or not, and I'm going to admit this on this podcast, I actually watched this twice this week out of respect, because I actually wanted to find something that I could present tonight that says, well, here's something we can hold on to that we might get there. And boys, it was a fucking struggle.
Well, all right. Well, we will get there. Noel, you lead the ship, and we'll because I'm going to give you some hope as well. Right. Not a lot, but I'm going to give you some.
Right. Well, we're going to kick off with Adam Page, Hangman, to us, a man who we all revere and think is excellent, I think, against Brian Cage, who I think has a lot of potential, a big man who actually can move and can put stuff together.
Yes.
Questionable ring gear, but hell and ever.
Hey, Glacier was a hell of a talent, my friend.
Yeah. Overall in this match, I thought this match was good. I thought there was a nice bit of back and forth. I thought guys got stuff in. I thought it meshed together well. And I thought, Glazier, like the way he made that, or not Glazier, Cage, I should have said. Jesus Christ. And the way he kind of like, remember when the guy threw in, what was it? He threw in the belt or something like that, or he threw in and he kicked it back out. He said he wasn't going to use it. He wanted to beat him proper. Yes. That kind of thing. I thought that was really cool. And then I loved the way he sort of, the way Page came over and he took that slingshot, that clothesline type thing, and he took it real well, and he made Page look real strong as well. So overall in this match, I was thinking, here we go. We could be in for a real good night of AEW here, What was your thinking on that match?
I got excited after it. I enjoyed the daylight. I enjoyed the crowd. I was kind of like, okay, what's this?
Like early WrestleManias, wasn't it, Jay? Kind of like
Dave White walking into a night. It was like, I love when that happens, when the sun is shining at the start of a card and you're transformed into the main event via the lighting of the natural lighting.
Yeah, it was like WrestleMania 8, was what I was thinking of, when the Pontiac Silverdome, wasn't it? Or was it the Hoosier Dome? The Hoosier Dome. When they had the big skylight, you remember? And then it went dark. I agree, Jay,
100%. Even Mania 3. Mania 3 started out like...
3 started...
Sure, I wasn't there for that one. I was alive, but I wasn't there, unfortunately. So I've seen it since, but...
I was front row in the sitting room.
Well, do you know what year was that again? 86?
3, I'm shit with dates. I'm no shit with numbers.
It was 87, wasn't it?
87, yes.
85, 86, 87.
I was still sucking on a fucking bottle.
I was 42.
Still am.
Not much has changed.
Evolution.
No, I did. Like when these two men get into the ring, I wouldn't be as knowledgeable as Page as you, man. So I watch him. I watch him fresh, and he's never disappointed. I know I can see the wrestler in the man, which is always a good thing. And Cage surprised me. I was surprised of his abilities as a man that size, the things he was able to do. I'm like, oh, okay. Now I know again. Look, Uncle Jim has this fucking manifesto about everything should be from 1983, and nothing has happened in the business worthwhile since. I'm like, no, I'm sorry. The business has moved on now. Big men can be athletic as well. They don't all have to be King Kong Bundy, you know. But this man, and he a man for his size, he made fucking Page look good. Page made Cage look good. They worked it. Even the interaction with the deflated Rock when he was 19 didn't anger me too much when he threw on the belt and he got a kick back in his face. I felt excited. I'm like, this shit happening here I haven't seen before. There's little fucking reversals and little subtleties in the match. These men have obviously sat down and go, right, we're opening the card. Let's put the stall out here.
Very important match, yeah.
It's the opener. It's your first taste of the night, and I was genuinely excited at the end of it. I'm like, oh, that's a solid fucking match. I can't fault it too much. Like, you know, well, I probably could sit down and criticize it, but again, you've got to give allowances to a young company with men who aren't working with each other for the last 15 years. And allowances aside, I enjoyed it.
I suppose in hindsight, it's very hard to criticize this match, isn't it? When we've gone through the other 3.5 hours.
No, I thought it was a good match. I mean, everyone knows what I think of Hangman Page. I think he looks like a star. He dresses like a wrestler. Do you know what I mean? He's a throwback to the old Magnum TA's shout out, and kind of the 80s kind of Southern wrestlers. And he's a great look. He's a good looking guy. He's got the hair. He's got the gimmick down. I don't know what the point that they're still talking about this alcoholic fucking angle. It's just ridiculous. But again, not a lot of it is going to make sense when we're listening to that. But yeah,
it's a stale desk anyway. They've very little to be fucking talking about. It's cliche after cliche after cliche, exactly, without anything in between and any personality.
But what I got from that was two studs, two real young bucks. Do you know what I mean? Two absolute studs, and yeah, I thought it was a great opener, especially. I mean, that would have fit on any kind of card. Do you know what I mean? WWE or New Japan or anywhere. I thought it was a good match.
Yeah. So we move on then. To good Lord, the Young Bucks versus Moxley and Eddie Kingston. So we get the Young Bucks coming out who don't look very young anymore. And
especially your man who's lightened his fucking hair. He must be putting fairy liquid in it under the sun. Is he just to hide the bleeding balls?
I don't know. I just, you know. And then you get Moxley coming out who clearly just doesn't give a shit and has given up on life.
He has a baby now, so he's like, that's...
Yeah, but good Lord. I mean, at what point did this become something that's like a barn CZW fucking show? You know what I mean?
He kind of looked like he had the baby, didn't he?
Yeah, and not only that, like, I'm a fucking big fan of Eddie Kingston. And by association, you're getting fucking slaughtered. You know what I mean? It's just...
And I used to be a fan of Moxley, I have to say. I was
a fan of the Dean Ambrose character.
But yeah, that's what I mean. I was hoping that he would go in there and give us a bit of wrestling. But the fact that he's just gone back to this, you know, as Jay likes to call it, bleeding... hardware wrestling,
yeah.
You know, it's just, you know, he has to bleed on every show. He has to fucking, nothing makes sense. And then when you're in with those two absolute disgraces to the name professional wrestling that call themselves, that make sure, I'd say the only notes that the commentary team have, don't forget, this is a good commentary team. Two of them are. The other lad who can fuck himself as well. We're going to talk about him at some point. Tope Suicino! Shut up, you fucking imbecile.
He was made
There's a man who kept his job after fucking his own little, you know, which, in fairness, I'm not about cancel culture, so I'm not going to blame him on that. But anyway, the point I'm making is, it's like the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. The only notes that has to be in front of Tony Schiavone and Jim Ross is to say, you're the best tag team in the world, possibly one of the best tag teams of all time, and you're just going, this is actually a disgrace, and yet you've got the best tag team in the world at the moment in FTR there doing nothing,
being destroyed.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But these two little imbeciles, I'd love to see them get a straightener. I really would.
And I'm just looking at it as well. Like, I mean, I suppose we should have known where this was going to go, because Moxley came out saying that Brian Gage is everything WWE need. I was just there going, fuck me. You know what I mean? That was the week before on the fucking dark side. And I'm there going. Then I look at the books and I go, you know, lads, I really miss when a super kick was a fucking finisher. I really miss it. I miss it.
Yeah.
Sure, a sharpshooter is a rest hold now. And a super kick. So you're talking about two of the greatest of all time to do it in Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. Both of their moves have just been hoard out as just little generic.
But not only do I miss one super kick being a finisher, now two super kicks isn't even a finisher.
Oh yeah.
And I just can't take to it. I can't take it, and I can't tolerate it, and I can't get into it. And I felt for Eddie Kingston because I am a fan of Eddie Kingston, and I know that boy can do the business. And you've Moxley coming out like he basically just showed up at the building, fucked his leather jacket on the back of a chair, and strolled out. And it's just, it's
stomp with his angry mean head. I'm like, you don't have to be that character every second. You can have a snapping point. You can, if you want to do, you go from your Dean Ambrose to your bleeding CZW stomp head. Have a fucking little Hulk out. Have a little hardcore Hulk out, and only get like that when you're bleeding.
Yeah,
you can wrestle normally until snapping point, but don't walk out like you're, already there.
It was kind of like Festus. He didn't get angry until the bell went. You know, that kind of way. It's just.
Did you see his little? I'm going to point out this just to be a dickhead. Actually, did you see his little weak kick on the chair when he was coming out as well? He done a worked kick on one of the little folding chairs, and I was just like, that looks like the most ridiculous. That looks like Lars Ulrich at the end of Whiskey in a Jar when he's trying to kick the cabinet. He's like,
I'm gonna say two words that were the overriding feeling I got about this. It's try hard. I mean, stop trying hard. I could possibly see the value in the books if they'd relax and stop doing so many famous tag team impressions. It's like they're like the karaoke singer of fucking wrestling, you know. I mean, at one stage, one of them, I don't even know which one's which. I should do now because they're different color hair, but one was walking
and then full haired book. That's what
we don't care. We don't care enough to care.
They're interchangeable. Exactly. But there was a bit where one of them was walking around on his tippy toes, and he was doing the little point. And I'm like, there's shades of Macho Man. And then a little bit later, he did the fucking ear and did this. I'm like, well, you know what? Regardless of what I think about that man, you don't get to do the big ear call because you're nowhere near the quality and level of that man. It's like they're trying to flash us to the past to make us love them. When it'd be like, you show me a little bit of fucking work, you show me a little bit of slow, progressive pro wrestling. Everybody stop no selling everything. This is more like a West Side Story finale. You know what I mean? They're dancing, and when I say
it's the opposite, though, Jay, and I'm sure Noel would agree with me. I think they're doing that to take the piss out of all wrestlers. That's what they're about.
I don't think so. I think they're in love with that era. I think they're in love with the Rockers and the Rock and Roll Express. I think in their misguided view of pro wrestling, they grew up watching it and were never quality enough to be called up through any real regulated system of.
They could have been. They could
ascension.
Have been. They went for
the quick book.
They were in Ring of Honor. They didn't listen to anybody. Everyone and there's multiple tag teams, multiple management that have said it, including Cornette, that they just wouldn't listen. They're
difficult. They believe they're already there.
They were ran out of TNA, boys.
They were ran, yeah.
And when you're getting ran out of TNA,
not good.
Finn Balor threw them a bone, and if you're listening, Balor, when you were David, it's one thing I'm very annoyed about. Not that he cares, but
sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong.
I don't know where I don't know where we really talk about this match. Do you get the feeling in some of these matches it's just they're feeding the fans what the fans expect, and it's nearly a circle of piss take.
Yeah, they've created that though, Noel. They've created that expectation. Like the Bucks and Omega, they are the problem. They are the ones that have brought this new.
It's the fan base. It's the fan base that feeds it. It's the fan base that feeds it because now the expectation in the fan base is this is what we expect when we go or watch a show. We don't want to see wrestling. That's not it anymore.
And then they chant, "This is wrestling." You're like, I would love to literally pour hot burning oil on some of you, and I mean that figuratively. Like,
but when you boys were talking about having a real strong booker or a guy in charge earlier. Yeah. And I'm thinking, I looked at this match, right? An air assault to the face. 4, not the 4 Podmen, 4 super kicks. And this guy kicks out at 1.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, a booker can't do anything about that. An agent can't do anything about that. That's just stupidity.
Can we see why Uncle Jim gets mad now? And actually, we can see why Uncle Jim Ross sounds like he hates life when he's trying to comment on this. Like, the money is good for him, and he's probably going, yeah, he's a lonely man, I suppose, with the passing of his wife and stuff like that, and he likes to be involved. But, like, people are like, oh, JR is just not into it. He's not the same as he was. Yeah, because JR is a professional wrestling fan, and he actually makes some innuendos in the show, doesn't he? Oh, imagine somebody went for a pin. Oh, I just seen a wrestling hold. It's like, why is JR shitting on what he's seeing? Because what he's seeing is shit.
And his continual narrative through the whole card for me was, you know, this wouldn't happen if the ref would take a little control.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
You know,
oh, good Lord, we're going to get onto the refereeing as well. No one's escaping tonight.
Not even Audrey. And Audrey, I usually love you, but
right. Let's move on from that match anyway and put that so far behind us that it's done. We move on. The Casino Battle Royal Rumble Battle Royal Casino Royal Rumble Battle Royal, whatever the hell it is. I'm a big fan of Jungle Boy. I have to say. I just think he's really cool. I think he's someone you can latch onto.
He's fresh.
I think he connects with the audience in a different way.
I like him as a person too, because you can see him even in talks. Like his dad, Matthew Perry, was a good guy as well. Like he just seems like a good kid, doesn't he? He relays it that he's a good person and that he cares about the business.
I think he's fresh and he's honest about being a professional wrestler. He knows what he is. He knows his size. He knows his limitations, but he also knows his ability. Like, he's easy to watch when he's fluid and he's bouncing around and he's doing crazy shit and using his body like a weapon. That's the way a little guy should work against big men. Yeah. Fucking throw yourself at his knee. Yeah. Do what you have to. Cut him down. He gets it, and it's not just that he's a fan of it. He wants to be better at it.
I just wish they take him away from the other two. They don't do anything for him.
I'm going to disagree. I'm going to read one. Yes, fair enough. But I like the spectacle of fucking Dinosaur Head and him.
Well,
I don't care about.
But
it speaks more about Jungle Boy that he does stick around with them and he's actually legitimately their friend. I think there's an innocence to their palship there. It's kind of like us against them.
I think everyone's Marco Stunt's friend because they feel sorry for him because it's 2020 and you can't say anything about a lad who's under 4 foot that isn't quite a midget but not enough to be called a midget. So fuck Marco Stunt. The only stunt in him was his growth. He's a little pox.
Oh,
anyway, let's move on.
Well, give us your thoughts on the match then.
How do you really feel?
Was very happy to see Christian Cage looking well. As in, like, looking well, and I'm asking myself this question during it. Come at me, 2021. By the way, I'm looking at Christian and I'm saying, dude, you should have stuck around with Edge, man.
What the fuck are you doing there?
WWE would have done something with you. Like, you had that moment in the Rumble. You're going, what the fuck? I don't know. I mean, Christian, again, I mentioned earlier that Cody's a legitimate star. Christian Cage is a legitimate star. But yeah, he's in a Rumble, loses to Jungle Boy, and that's fair enough. He's putting the young lad over. But why isn't he up there challenging instead of a fucking freshly squeezed fruit for the title? Do you know what I mean? Like, this is what, no.
Because freshly squeezed was in later on.
That's what I'm saying though. Freshly squeezed is a bigger star than Christian Cage.
Yeah, but see, the problem you have there is if you bring Christian Cage in and you put him against Kenny Omega in a program and Christian Cage wins the belt, where do you go then from there?
You have a legitimate wrestling company then. Yeah, why would you bother?
No. You have a legitimate wrestling star and a champion. Doesn't necessarily mean you have a legitimate company.
Well, you're on the road. You're doing what you're doing there is you're doing the right things to make it a legitimate wrestling company. But anyway, staying on point with that, yeah. I mean, there was some obviously people in it that are. And look, listen, I have to say, obviously, everyone knows I'm a worker first and foremost. I love seeing the lads and the girls getting paid. You know what I mean? I love that. I love seeing someone have a spot, blah, blah, blah. So when I call someone like Marco Stunt what I did, I mean that because he's not a worker. Fuck him. However, when I see other people getting paid, you know, the Bucks and Omega, like they've literally just sucked ass to the boss and literally made this be whatever it is. But everyone else, I'm happy to see them getting paid. If they're taking it seriously, I'm happy to see them getting paid. You know what I mean? The only two things that stood out for me in this was, to be honest with you, Cage and Jungle Boy. It was almost like, as I was watching it, I was like, they're obviously going to be the last two. Can I say one thing about Jungle Boy's entrance? I fucking love it. And I love the fans singing along.
The importance of a song, the importance of a walkout entrance music, it just made me realize how far behind WWE has fallen in the presentation of the entrance, and how it should validate the man walking through.
And that's
or
a
breaking
victory
the curtain.
for Tony Khan, because he went and bought that song, the rights to it, so that they could use it. And I think that's a great shout by Tony Khan. And obviously we see with the big man as well, with his own song, you know, that entrance song, the fans get into it, and I think that's good. But yeah, look, I don't know what else to tell you. I like Jungle Boy and I like Christian Cage.
That match was a mess.
Yeah, just to touch on Jay. Do either of you find Matt Hardy now weird?
Yeah.
Very
real weird and real kind of like.
Yeah.
His legs are getting worse, aren't they? Like they're almost going into themselves.
He has this weird shuffle that he does before he does things. It's like somebody's fused his legs together and he can only move from the waist up. And his
like
punches,
Danny DeVito in Batman Returns as the Penguin, isn't he? Like
again, look, man, another bone of contention I had that was made quite clear during a few close-ups in this fucking whatever that Battle Royal Rumble was. Why aren't these men even attempting to cinch in punches? Why aren't they? If you can't sell a punch and a kick, you can't sell me you. This is if you're a brawl. I mean, we know the Lucha Boys have a history of not using the punch or kicks, but they have a specific niche in the broader
they get away
picture.
with it. Yeah, I agree with that.
They don't do that, and that's okay. But I mean, I kept on thinking about how for a while there everything was, hard style, the North American or the Japanese or British strong style, and I was like, is that what North American strong style is? Like, and I know they don't know when the camera's on them, but these are physical men. You can put one in a little.
It's laziness. It's laziness is all it is.
It's almost like it's the whole thing was a fiasco between the camera work, the shitty punches. There was men walking in and just getting fucked out over the rope the minute they came in. I'm like, why is there never more than fucking set amount of men in the ring? It's like, why is interfered entrances? And don't even get me started on show on the commentary box. He sounded like fucking Bobby from King of the Hill Star.
Yeah. Jay, actually, on that, it just came to me, and I want to say it while it's fresh, and it's going to make sense, right? People are probably wondering, Dynamo's just going off on this because he wants to. No, I'll tell you why I'm getting annoyed about it the more I think about it. Vinnie Mac, the wrestling that we loved and grew up on, right? And even when you watch the New Japan stuff, like in the 90s and stuff like that, when you were looking at the young up-and-comers like Liger, literally wanting to take the mantle of Satoru Sayama and be the next kind of star, but not as Tiger Mask, as being his own brand. You know what I mean? Putting effort and putting money into his look and thought into his look. That's just one example. There's a precedent in that company in AEW that there's nothing really to reach for. So there's an inherent laziness that has been distilled throughout all of the work that certain guys that are passionate about what they do in the ring, i.e. Cody, i.e., Page, yeah. Like even my boy Darby Allin as well, guys that want to make a name for themselves. Something like a Rumble there. Good Lord, I've been part of many Rumbles, Noel, which on a small scale, and you're thinking, I hope they're watching this because I'm going to choose to do it. You would do something. Didn't matter who was watching. You done moves, and like Jay made a great point, if it was a punch, because I was never one of these kind of components, or what would be the word? I was never one of those guys that would be a fan of people just coming in and doing their fucking finishing moves. Proponents, exactly. I like to see lads coming in and punching, trying to wear a guy down.
Scrap. So you can work for your ability, work for the window for the finisher.
And
just don't do it to him.
But that's the point. They don't have someone there that's an authority figure that has said, you can get to here. Because already Freshly Squeezed has been in a fucking Champagne Supernova match with Chris Jericho. And that was his. Oh, you go. This is you're our guy now. You're our guy. After watching Ultimate Warrior documentaries all week, you're our guy, Orange.
Run with the ball.
All 150 pounds of you. That's the one. You're the next in line. And I think, would you agree with what I'm saying there, lads? Yeah. That you can see there that there's just lads in there taking a paycheck. I don't think a lot of these actually have passion for what they do anymore. They're just happy to be on camera.
Ian, you hit on a point that I hadn't realised until you said it. The whole underneath of the whole company, there's no belts for them. Everything is mortgaged. We know who the belts are going to. We know the small pool of men who have the belts. I mean, the books, fucking Omega.
The TNT one obviously is good because that's like the television title. But where's the North American Championship or the US title? Do you know what I mean? The one that's the next up. There's Orange Cassidy's one. Give him 6 months with that.
But but look at what the issue is. If you start bringing in more belts, you're just going to hang them on the arms of Kenny Omega walking out, and it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
Because this is what's going to happen. Because those boys' roles in there, without a shadow of a doubt, is to stand on people's heads.
They're a cancer. They are a cancer to wrestling. The more I look at this, I look back at the click and say, please bring back Scott Hall and Kevin.
I'm convinced. I said it at the start. I'm convinced if those boys weren't there, you'd have the makings of a real good wrestling promotion.
They are a cancer. They are a cancer to the wrestling business. And look, I don't know. No, they are. We're 100% there.
I'm not arguing.
I have no personal vendetta against those guys because I don't know them from Adam, and I know that they're friends of mine. So these aren't actual shots at Kenny Omega, the person. I'll leave that up to the likes of Jim Cornette and all that. I don't hate these guys. Do you know what I mean? And I just want to preface by saying that I don't hate these guys. In fact, quite the opposite. I want to like you. In fact, I go into every Kenny Omega match going, this motherfucker has all the talent and the tools in the world. He's got the body. He's got the look. And I'm sure we're going to get onto that later. I look at the Young Bucks as well. I'm like, you two are athletic little fuckers. If you, like Jay touched on the point earlier, if you could listen, and I mean listen.
Yeah, let us like you. Let us like you.
Yeah. Tully fucking Blanchard and Arn Anderson are there. One of the greatest tag teams of all time. Go and seek out their fucking mentorship. Do a 3-month program with FTR. Learn the fucking...
But this is the problem.
And the shirts will sell themselves.
Absolutely.
Listen,
and that's all it is.
Fans vote with their wallets. This is the way the wrestling business works.
And I know people like hearing the cancer word, but it's the truth. At this moment in time, they are a cancer to that company because they are not letting it grow. And
let me put it this way, right? Again, we speak about what you would do to fix the company, and it's ironic that the shit we criticize WWE for, we suffer with AEW. There has to be a happy middle ground. What I would do with them is, I've said this before on other shows, segment their weekly show. If you think that the fucking numbers are being done by a certain amount of men, well then give them the last 50 minutes of your TV show. That middle 50 minutes, give to a belt, and that first whatever it is, give to your roster who don't have a chance to win a belt, and give them a year to shine and elevate to the next level of hourly programming. Work a filtration system up to create stars, as opposed to fucking it all into the middle and say, fight it out for yourselves. Oh, by the way, there's no belt for you because they're already around the waist.
Niall's 100% right, though. And the more I'm just thinking about it more and more, right? Because in my head, I'm trying to play like owner in a way, and I'm kind of, because I know the Bischoff story very well, and like for all the shit that Bischoff gets, he was a genius in his own right too. It takes a genius to bring down a genius for any period of time, and to even do it for 82 weeks is a big fucking chunk of time in the wrestling business, you know. I'm there thinking to myself, right, it's like a football team, you know what I mean? Stop getting the hand-me-downs. Stop getting me the lads that are getting released that they don't need anymore. If you want to go after a real star that you want to brand and you want to bring those in, you know, just for example, like when they were linked with Randy Orton when he was doing his thing, they could have really, just for example, they could have really went after that boy and said, you're not fucking wrestling too far away from where you live. You're going to be wrestling once a week. We're going to make you this. Now, this is what a smart mind would do, right? So I'm only playing hypothetical here. Only playing fantasy booker. I know it wouldn't happen. But Niall touched on a point, and I think he's right. No matter who you bring in, because they brought them in, they'll have a cup of coffee, and that's all it's going to be. It's going to be a cup of coffee, and then they're down a tier below, because this was always been built up for Kenny Omega to be built as the biggest star in the world. And I mean, people talk about Triple H putting himself over. Holy shit. What everything Triple H did made sense. And I'll fight any man that fucking tells me otherwise. Everything he did as champion made sense, because he made you hate him. That's one thing.
Yeah,
And
he was the villain of the piece for 20 fucking years.
yeah, but I think Niall's right. I think this is what we're going to have. Those belts are going to be on that trio in particular, fucking till it. Because don't forget, Cody's only by association.
It doesn't matter who the belts go on, because it's not going to be on the people long enough to make it meaningful before it reverts back. So it doesn't make a difference.
Kenny will be like a 20-time champion by the time this whole ordeal's done.
Let's move on to a match that I really enjoyed. But
and by the way, well done, Jungle Boy. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. But let's move on to a match that I really enjoyed. But again, I think there was still a few issues in it. Cody Rhodes versus Anthony Ogogo. I think Anthony Ogogo is really, really good.
I'm gonna clap on that one. For a former boxer, I watched his boxing, and I'm sure Jay did as well. We know well what he was with the Olympics and all, and a good boxer. His transition to pro wrestling, that's why I'm saying fuck me, man. Well done.
Boys, that frog splash. Wow.
Beautiful.
Wow.
He was clearly a fan of the business. Was he was making his name in another fucking sport. You can tell when somebody wants to do it or somebody doesn't have a choice in his life. I mean, he had choices in his life. He could have went and made loads of money somewhere else. I don't know. Maybe there was an injury that prevented him, or the world of boxing right now is in shit.
Got into the worst fucking business if it's injuries.
You know, but yeah, fair. But yeah. I'm going to start straight away with the first thing. I turned around when Kev was sitting on the couch beside me, and I was already in full fettle. I should have fucking. The next time I watch an AEW, I'm going to put a dictaphone down on the.
He told me this last night, yeah.
Yeah, I'm putting a dictaphone down because I swear to God. I mean, I know the lad's name is Rhodes, but when Surfer Sting walks out in Apollo Creed's fucking cast-offs, I'm like, you don't realize how good you are. You don't need all of this shit around you. You don't need a bad gimmick and a bad choice and a bad reason and a bad promo and a bad run or stream of logic to get into a competition with a man. Let wrestling be a reason. I'm going to beat you because you just betrayed me. Needs to be nothing fucking more. I mean, if we want to get cerebral and psychological, they had a great match and it didn't need the bollocks around it. It was a standout match and let's face it, mediocre card. I mean, with the exception of the opener, this was the match that I kind of and even the fact that when before he went into the full Nelson, or not the full Nelson, the figure four, he did the woo, and I'm like, was that a Sting woo or a Ric Flair woo? I mean, as you remember,
let's give him the benefit of the doubt and say it was a Sting one, right? Come on.
It was a Stinger woo, but again, just watching him walk.
It's the higher pitch one.
Yeah, but walking down looking like Surfer Sting, I'm like, man, throw a little paint on that.
I love it personally. I'm not gonna lie. You know, me and Kev are actually a shout out to Kev. He's gonna be watching. We're kind of unapologetically Cody fans, but I definitely think you have a point, Jay, but I think, again, he's the only person that walks out on that show to me, other than MJF or someone like that looks like a star. In fact,
he was absolutely the only one who walked out like a primo 80s style wrestling, not star, superstar.
Yes.
He has the swagger, he has the look, he has the cut, he knows what image it is.
And his in-ring ability as well is just incredible. I mean, Mr. Ogogo, Niall, you would say there's not, for your debut match, there's not a fucking wrestler in the world other than Randy Orton that you'd want to be up there with, is there?
Yeah, true. I was very impressed with him. I just think he's really, really good for a guy who's, you know, only had a handful of TV matches or whatever you want to call them. I thought he handled himself very well.
Meant
I
debut
thought he was an
pay-per-view
excellent-
match. Sorry, obviously.
Yeah. But I look at Cody Rhodes, lads, and I think I'd kind of like him maybe to park the dad and unwrap the orange and, you know, give us something. And don't be sort of welled up in encapsulated in the American dream and, you know, all that. I'd like to see maybe a dark Cody Rhodes who goes in there and just wrestle solid matches, gives us that bit of wrestling that we crave in AEW. I mean, if you look at this match here, this match was an outstanding match when you think about it. And the crowd kind of shitted on it because they were going, what's this? What's this? You know what I mean? And you're there going, this is what's on the fucking marquee, boys.
It's pro wrestling, son.
It's all elite wrestling.
Do you know what the W stands for in the A and E?
I was there going, but I'd love to see Cody Rhodes just become that kind of character. I'd nearly like to see Cody Rhodes nearly go down a road similar to Dustin, where it's kind of dark and sort of mystique sort of to it. And
I don't.
I get you. Get moody, walk down to the ring with a towel over the head, give it the Iron Mike. It's real. I'm gonna fucking hurt you, son. You're an Olympian. I'm gonna fuck you up.
I'd love to see him just like in black trunks with like black kind of ankle amateur wrestling boots or something like that, and just give me a solid wrestling match all the time.
I'm not witches on that one, I have to say.
But you know what the problem is? The problem is when you see him coming out like that and he's dickied up in that Apollo Creed stuff and stuff like that and all. And do you know what it is? I think it takes away from the talent and the depths that he actually has.
No, but the talent is in there in the ring when he gets in. The only wrestling match you're guaranteed on an AEW show is Cody Rhodes, and it has been the one constant in AEW since he's been there.
Yeah.
Now, I do, like, there will come a time, he's still a young man, there will come a time, because obviously he's doing Surfer Sting at the moment, and it's funny that you mentioned Sting. What happened with Surfer Sting later on? You know what I mean? You might get that dark side of the Cody down the line, but I have to say, I mean, there's your world champion right there. That's who should be your world champion without a shadow of a doubt, because he is the measuring stick, because he's got the best look in the business. He presents himself like a superstar, as Jay said. He's the best in-ring performer without a shadow of a doubt. Probably one of, I would say, the top 3 active in-ring performers on the planet right now.
Oh, and he's proved it in front of a global audience by choosing no longer Vince's money, where he could have earned easy for a long time. He took his personality and who he was and his love for the business, and he took it on the road globally before he settled with this situation.
Exactly. So I think he should be commended, to be honest with you, that he doesn't need the bells and whistles of the belt yet. And he's kind of going, right, let Kenny fucking get his little fantasy wank out of him up there and hold all of his belts and all that kind of nonsense. Have his bells and whistles. He won't get himself over on a broad scale that TNT need. That only fucking X amount of years ago they had Hogan out there every fucking week holding the belt. That would pass it on to someone like the Goldberg or whoever. And they remember, of course they remember. This will happen at some point, and Tony will then have to start shipping around. And I think I like Tony Khan. I think he seems like a good guy. He definitely does love wrestling. And I think even when you look at,
I think he loves WCW.
He does, and I think something will happen to him at one point, because I won't call them cretins in outside life, but they're definitely cretins in the wrestling business when they're in business. There's plenty of people that are nice outside of their day job, but cretins within it. And this is what I think the trio of the elite are, and I think they will be found out eventually, Noel.
Yeah, well, I mean, the talk going around at the moment is all that top level is not very happy with each other.
Oh yeah,
the ascension in the ranks.
You can see it. You can see it in the way, like I said earlier on, that it's almost like it's a segmented show and not a unified fucking input. It's like the Cody hour or the Cody 40 minutes is almost, it's a show inside a show.
You're right, Jay. You did mention that. That was a great point, actually. Yeah.
Let's move on then. Miro versus Lance Archer was kind of one that I kind of enjoyed. I kind of let myself enjoy it because of the wave before it and stuff like that.
You deserve that. You deserve that, though.
Deserve it, but I I thought in this one, I thought Miro was kind of brilliant, and I thought we got to see a little bit more of him here. I was never
And
really...
his wife is coming back to him soon, so we're going to see a happy Miro.
Yeah, but I was never kind of like, you know, let's open the curtain there. I was never a Rusev fan.
I'm
But
not.
this Miro lad, I kind of enjoyed it there the other night.
Yeah.
I know kind of the match started out and it was a bit of a brawl, and then someone decided to go to the top rope and be walked across like a ballerina, and it just looked absolutely stupid. But when Jake ran in and he just beat the piss out of Jake and says, fuck off back to the 80s, and got his fucking bag with his fucking snake and fucked it up the ramp and didn't give a shit. And the snake bounced a few times, which was kind of weird. But I just thought,
Jake's not allowed a real snake anymore.
And it was great the way the camera went back to Miro's face after he like got the snake with the bag and just chucked it. And he just it was kind of like, it was like as if he was double thinking himself, going, I really enjoyed doing that, but I wonder should I have, you know, and you're thinking, oh, animal rights are all going to be on you now. You have to get that snake and throwing it up the ramp and all this kind of thing. And I don't know, Jake looked like he just stepped off a set for the new Battlestar Galactica with that ring gear he was wearing, which was kind of weird as well. But I kind of enjoyed this one. Like, it was just
I did. You know what I would say? If I was like someone like, you always kind of, you look back on the 80s, you know, and we talk about people that we revere, and 90s. Like, I mean, all I would say to these heels is be Piper. I'm not trying to say be Roddy Piper and steal his gimmick, but what I'm saying is, if you want to be a heel that much, be fucking Piper. Call someone like Marco Stunt that the only stunt in his name is the growth. Don't be afraid of the bite back that you're getting. Do you know what I mean? This is the thing. You said it, Noel. I got that same thing. It's like, oh, should I? It's like, that will resonate.
Yeah.
Look, Randy Orton is a perfect example, isn't he? There's a man that doesn't give a fuck.
I think, you know, the initial problem with him is he doesn't know who he is in that company yet.
Miro?
Yeah, even though there's a strap around his waist.
I'd agree with that.
He's listened to way too much Cornette, and the fact that we're seeing him develop into what Cornette said he should have been 3 months ago is a clear indication.
I think so.
It is. And now, go on.
No, go on.
The minute he realized, oh shit, Jim is right.
Why am I wearing
around his
Disney
waist
tops?
Yeah, and he looks great, but the problem is, like, who he was wrestling in this match is packaged all wrong. Your opponent does as much for you and as your presentation as anything else. Like, one, I'm not a particular fan of Archer. I think if you're going to be 6'7" and 270 pounds, don't dress like you're a fucking cybergot from 1999 dancing under a fucking bypass to Thomas the Tank Engine music. Get rid of the silly pants.
Down in O'Connell Street, underneath, what was it called?
Central Bank.
Like, offer. If you're wrestling a beast, don't come out dressed like that. Get some of fucking Moxley's Bleeding Combats and get some 18-year-old dogs and look and dress, wrestle and act like the way you are. My problem with AEW is they have a serious misunderstanding of the weight category system.
Yes.
Like, little guys, let them be flamboyant. Mid guys and tag, let them do what they want. Whatever. I mean, you have enough opponents in a mix to make mixed match and odds even. But if you're a fucking big man and you're a bad man, look like a big bad man. Yeah. Walk down to that ring smoking a cigar with a fucking knuckle duster on. Like, do not come to the ring looking like you do.
I have to think, Jay, while it's hot, Braun Strowman's going to come out in a Jim the Anvil Neidhart fucking singlet and tights, isn't he? And pink as well.
But can you imagine? That's exactly who Archer should be dressing like. The way they dressed Strowman, give him a fucking military green tank top and a pair of Bleeding Combats. Yeah. Don't have him walking down to the ring in a fucking wallet chain zipper and fucking all kinds of accoutrements and bullshit on your pants. Like, you know, who dressed you? The 90s?
I'm telling you, lad, Strowman is coming out on AEW in lime green and fucking pink tights go. Because they done it with the dark, what are they called? I can't remember their name now. He sadly passed, obviously, but remember his gear?
Yeah, the Dark Order.
Yeah,
Brody Lee.
Brody Lee. Sorry,
Yeah.
my apologies.
R.I.P.
But like, 100%. But the gimmick, the gear they had him on him was stupid looking.
Yeah.
Like his character needed to wear that sweaty fucking white beater vest that looked like it had tobacco stains and whiskey stains on it. And
man.
Jay said a big
I
pair
don't know.
of
Were
jeans.
they trying to present him nearly like General? What was his name out of Superman? General
Zod.
Yeah, it was kind of like that. I kind of thought he was
I don't know.
nearly
I
like,
think
you know,
he
like
needed
a dark wizard or something like that.
But he
you know what I
looked
mean?
like Charles Manson. Like he looked like a tall, large Charles Manson. I want to see him look like that. You know what I mean?
Did anyone else pick up when they were looking at Miro in terms of his camera work and in terms of the slow, methodical way of him?
The levels. It's levels.
No. Is he not? I think he's watching Roman Reigns. Is he?
Yeah.
I got the feeling that he's watching Roman Reigns when I look.
I think it's a bit of both. Jay said he's obviously listening to Jim.
They all are. The whole company is.
Yeah.
Whenever they go, Jim. Like, I mean, it's like I said. Look, on a caveat on a side note.
There is one man that can fix it. It's Jim Cornette.
But he is, without realizing it, he's become sucked into the mark game. That company is working him. Right. The amount of shit he says about all of them weekly. And it's almost like a memo sent down from Khan. Like, right, listen, he said something about all these, but you're going to take it once a week, a turn each to tweet him and fuck him up. I mean, they could have all just jumped on 8 of them in one day. They're not. They're working each feud out with him week by week and getting mileage out of it.
It's nearly
double working them.
It's nearly like he's become their free booker.
Right?
Like, think about it.
What's Cornette said about us this week? Okay, I tell you what. We need to lose you two. You're going in there. And next week he's wearing a fucking belt and you're like, he wasn't wrong. It's ludicrous, but here we are.
It's like,
you know, and he could be collecting a wage for what he's doing for them, but right now he's collecting listeners for his podcast. It's a work inside a work.
Well, that's
like
it.
I said, if everybody had a problem with him,
tried to sign him, didn't he? So
he gave it a go, and Jim seen where it was going. But now Khan has saved himself Jim's wage check by telling each of his roster, now it's your turn to bring up what Jim said about you 6 weeks ago. Why? Because we already did it last week, and we can't have you double heating on each other. If Jim's going to talk about the feud this week on a show, we have to get in the queue. Get in the queue. Do you know what I mean? And that's how I know that there's a double work going on there. That company is working Jim, and Jim's earning off that company simply because they didn't all come out and lash him with their own individual problems, in 1 week. They're taking fucking turns weekly.
But the only work is Jim working them. Jim doesn't get worked.
Listen, everybody's walking out.
He makes
winner.
money. He makes
AEW's getting free fucking what's the thing? Creative. We're creative. I mean, like if Jim goes around and goes, oh my God damn it, Jesus Christ, you need to put your belt on Marco Stunt. I mean, 2 weeks later, you'd have Marco Stunt walking around on a belt 4 sizes too big for him. You know, he should be working them back.
Yeah. Anyway,
it's a belt.
Let's move on. Dr. Britt Baker. The women's match. I don't really know what.
Here's one that's gonna really upset everybody. I fucking fast forwarded it because it was horse shit. Not because they're women, because it was horse shit.
No, look, I'm going to interject here. You know why I skipped it? Because when I found out which was that they had presented the opponent, the champ, the Japanese girl, I can't remember her name. When I found out they presented her with a bigger belt, a bigger version of the same belt, I knew straight away, you're only being presented with a belt because it doesn't fit the person who's going to hold the next one. What's the point? You've already told me who's going over.
The only doctor I want on my screen is the doctor of Thugonomics, although maybe not so anymore because he bows to China, or else,
Dr. Isaac Yankum?
Yankum, there we go. That's exactly my man.
The doctor of style, slick.
Oh, hell, Jesus. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we'll move on. I mean, I was supposed to talk about the match. It was kind of sloppy and clumsy and just kind of. It is AEW what it was.
Women, then, that's going to get a whole revamp though in a couple of weeks and a couple of months.
Yeah, but it was.
I don't want to criticize the women's division. Again, this is another part of that company and growth, and it's so disenfranchised from each other. Look, whatever we've seen, what women's wrestling is capable of now. The
Oh,
ladies are
yeah.
getting equal show time and main events in other places, and it's as equal anywhere. Again, I didn't skip it because any other reason other than when I heard the bigger belt story, immediately the cynic in me said,
Do you know why I skipped it? Because I watched the first few minutes of it and I looked at the length of the match. So I had the at the end of the day, I was doing my day's work and I was like, I'm looking at the length of this match and the first 10 minutes are telling me this is going to be shit. I'm skipping this. And the thing is, that's not a disrespect to the ladies. That's a disrespect to the booking, and the booking knowing what they are capable of and what they are capable of and what story. And again, who's in charge of the women's division? Kenny Olivier. By the way, we will talk about that. Did anyone hear the Kenny Olivier chant in the crowd when he was in there? No? Yes, thankfully. Thank God, because that would have left.
no, it's hard enough to watch, let alone listen.
But you see my point, though. Kenny is running that women's division, blah, 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 and it's always the small Japanese girls, skill girls, whatever kind of fetish he has, like for small Japanese women. And it's like, right, it's not really getting over to me. Thunder Rosa is there, who is a friend of mine who's been on the show. Of course, I'm going to be biased, but in my opinion, one of the strongest women's wrestlers on the planet. In fact,
legitimately an excellent pro wrestler.
One of the greatest pro wrestlers on the planet. Take away fucking gender. And just lost in the shuffle, not even a full contract. Like
also, as well, sorry, forgive me, Ian, is a side segue. Anybody who hasn't watched any of the NWA Power and wants to go see some honest studio wrestling and some decent women's wrestling, NWA Power gave equal billing to everything else on the card, and it wasn't just 100%. A side spectacle. And Thunder Rosa earned her belt.
WWE are knocking it out of the park with the women's.
They are.
Oh, absolutely. And look, I'll give Kenny one thing. In fairness, he obviously decided that he was going to put it on Britt Baker, and I do think she's a good character and stuff like that. And I do think, obviously, with the WWE releases that we've had this week, we could see some in there. Jay's own Liv Morgan,
best to ever lace up the boots.
The likes of Ruby Riott and all that. They could really help those girls out. Mickey
James is sitting at home, boys.
Why isn't Mickey James getting a phone call? Do you know what I mean?
That's going to happen. That's inevitable.
Well, there's Nick Aldis heat somewhere there, isn't there? Because how is Nick Aldis not in? Anyway,
he's decided. Aldis decided legitimately. I've been given the £10 of gold, and that is the championship which I will defend. And he's shown NWA some loyalty, which is very rare. And he's another man who I loved on the Power. Another man who proved me wrong. I was never a big fan of him to begin with, but his wrestling was exquisite. His treatment of opponents was dignified and territorial, and his love of the belt and his respect for it is something rare and beautiful.
I only defended it about 3 times a year, though. That's the problem.
Listen,
now it's just literally sitting on the mantle.
Look, Billy Corgan decided to shut his fucking situation down when the global pandemic happened, and he took the financial hit of a product he recently bought at the care and respect, I suppose, of his cast of roster of workers. And look what happened to him. Every other fucking company just looted the company when they were rested, I guess.
That's just business, I suppose. But anyway,
it is, and he'll go forward and roll forward as well. He loves the belt, not the people holding it.
Let's move on then. Sting and Darby Allin versus Paige and Scorpio Sky.
Hell yeah.
Go ahead, Ian.
All right, yeah. I mean, I was excited to see this one. Sting and Darby Allin are my 2 boys anyway. And this was more for me just a case of seeing what they would do. Do you know what I mean? In terms of the match, like I wasn't expecting much. One thing I will say is, like, why is Sting taking a fucking suplex on the ramp? It doesn't need to be done, But he did it. Sting getting a little bit of a jump off the top, but in the ring, Jesus Christ, it was like, this is a 60-plus-year-old man, and he's actually doing pro wrestling better than lads a quarter of his age. I just, I thought it was good to see Sting in the ring doing a bit. It was nice to see him in a ring again. Do you know what I mean? I think he should have left the T-shirt on, personally.
And maybe sold the suplex on the ramp a bit more.
Yeah, probably should have done that as well. Yeah, he probably actually went, shit, this doesn't actually hurt. I'm excited about this. Oh shit,
He
I would have thought that.
also probably
I would-
figured if I don't get up real quick, I mightn't get up at all.
Yeah. It was like
You
it was
know?
that instant reaction. Oh,
The
roll
crossbody
with
was
the
cool though,
punches.
wasn't it?
You what?
The
Yeah,
crossbody was kind of cool.
It was
was.
like, and it was nice to see Sting back in there. And like as I said, Darby Allin, I think he's a legitimate star. I think I think he's money in the bank to present to a certain part of, you know, when we think of us as rockers as kids, or, you know, kids that think that they're, you know, don't want to be
street
part of the
edgy.
Then again, everyone's involved these days in 2021. You don't really have that anymore. It's just like, let's all be unhappy together. So it's kind of like, I don't know where Darby fits that role, but it's like, well, we're all miserable anyway. I'm a he, you're a she, they're a they. Yeah. We'll meet somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, listen, in pro wrestling, everything's always been everything's always been an everything. Just ask Adrian Adonis. Do you know what I mean? In 1984, his shit was
adorable,
edgy.
the adorable one. Yeah. But no, I think it was nice to see. Personally, I thought it was, you know, like I said, it wasn't a barn burner. It certainly wasn't something that was, you know, going to set the world alight. But it was certainly better than.
Do you know what it was?
Shit we watched.
Do you know what it was? It was a young man willing to learn, wanting to be better, and it was an old man willing to teach and wanting to show. I'm not a Sting fan, right? I am Sting fan at times, but overall, the whole of his career, I wouldn't call myself a Sting fan. I wouldn't insult anybody by talking to them and saying, "Yeah, I'm a Sting fan." Then you hear their Sting stories and like, what? You know what I mean? I won't boast what I amn't.
Noel knows I'm a Stinger.
Listen, we all got our allegiances. Pro wrestling's like football when you're coming up young, and who you plant your flag in and who you root for, you're buried with. That's just the way of
100%.
business. That's loyalty.
I agree.
What this tandem tag team kind of showed me, and what was lovely, like I said, I'm a young man willing to learn and wanting to be better, and an old man willing to show and wanting to teach. And what Sting does that most of this card doesn't do is feeds the crowd and listens to them, as opposed to doing what they expect them to do. He respects the crowd. He understands the spectacle. He knows what to do, when to do, how to do it, and how long to do it over. He'll take his hiding and he'll do his throwback. He'll stand at the corner, and by at one stage, Darby was crawling for the hot tag and Sting knew it wasn't coming, and he just kept on turning around and looking at the crowd. And the wrestling fan in me was like, "Sting, he's trying to get to you. Would you just give him help?" And I was like, "No, the kid hasn't taken enough punishment yet." It was like an aspect of Cool Hand Luke. Yeah. He has some more left in him before I'm going to hot tag, because I'm real old and these knees are real old. And, you know, it was storytelling. It was like, "Oh, no, you didn't. Oh, yes, you did." And, you know,
it was like that kind of, "I've done my time. Did you not see me up there on that ramp? I've done my bit. This is your time."
Oh my God, somebody called Lloyds of London. Yeah. Oh my God.
What did you make of the ref? I thought it was really weird, the missed tag, if you like. And I just thought it was like, she was staring at the tag as it happened and then quickly looked away to present as if she hadn't seen it. And then let Sting come in with a bit of a beat down and then push them out, saying, no, I didn't see it. And Darby Allin is down in the corner where the tag was supposed to have happened in a jocker, clearly made the tag. And I was thinking, why didn't the two boys across the ring cop onto that and run over and drag him out of the corner and beat the piss out of him?
And beat the piss out of him.
Yeah, and I was thinking, it was just, and then the crowd, I think, tuned into that and they copped it. And they started hating on it, which I didn't like at all, because it was really, really good, the match and stuff like that, up till that kind of mix-up. And everyone was looking really strong. All four were looking really strong, and it was it was the first time on the show where you had all four guys working in tandem, working together. It kind of
in one match, yeah.
And you knew someone backstage had put this match together real well and thought about it.
This is our old school superstar. This is our nostalgia moment. This is Stinger back. This is a once in a lifetime chance. Yeah. Everything needs to be perfect.
Yeah.
Who did what now? In front of who?
But but it was the way in which she was staring at the tag happen and then in denial was just so weird. And it was there, you fucked up, didn't you? You know what I mean? And she's so on it, isn't she, in terms of refereeing? Like she
The
sells
authority
everything.
figure over there. She's a modern day Earl Hebner. You don't get one over on her. Like she was. I mean, when was the last time you heard of a refs legitimately selling T-shirts? Sorry, Earl, but like, you know, I would be critical, but again, she's been one of the shining lights of that company. So I'm kind of like, if this is your mistake, you picked a hell of a place to fucking make it, sweetie. Because this is highlight reel fucking stuff from Stinger. Like,
it would have been nice to make that mistake on the title match, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but it was kind of like, and you knew probably when she went backstage, she was probably so disappointed in herself.
Oh,
you know
definitely.
What I mean? Because it was just.
Let me put it to you in comparison, right? She made that gaffe in front of people who were actually watching what was happening in the match, right? And you know, it's an unusual thing to do, and it's not her. She's usually the authority figure and on everything. And bless her, she had a brain fart in front of most of the audience attention. Not a good time to do it.
No.
But earlier on in the card, you had the young fucks basically double teaming fucking Ambrose for about 17 minutes before one got the pin on him. And I'm looking at this, and I turned to Kevin and goes, that other one hasn't even rolled out of the ring to pretend like it's a legit thing. And that ref has had to letting the double team happen for longer than it takes to cook a fucking Goodfellas pizza. How am I supposed to be convinced by something when the company can't convince its own employees to do what they're supposed to do? He didn't even bother to roll out. He just sat there looking at his brother celebrating the win. 1, 2. I was like, well, why don't you throw on the stripes yourself, pal? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, indirectly they have.
And you remember when Tony Khan's biggest kind of sell when he started this whole ordeal was that, you know, rules are going to mean something, and wins and losses are going to
legitimate sports-based promotion were the words used.
Oh my God! Like, I mean, he is the biggest mark of all time, isn't he? Because he just gets worked by the lads all the time. He gets worked by lads who aren't even workers.
Before we get into the last two matches, which is going to be a very interesting part of this podcast.
We'll spend as little time as we can on them.
Moving swiftly on.
Mark Henry, boys. Mark Henry. I was listening to an interview with him there the other day on Cyrus, and he was talking about the conversation he had with Vince, discussing about going to AEW. And he went into Vince and he says, you know, I have this thing here. It's an opportunity, blah, blah. And Vince straight away said, best luck, go for it. And it was just like, good luck, you know what I mean? And it was there going,
there's another alumni contract gone off my books. Happy days.
I'm sick of paying lads for nothing. You know,
every time that door knocks, I save money.
And I loved the comment of Cornette during the week where he turned around and he says, they don't realize there's a bigger draw value on the announcer's desk than in the roster.
Yeah, I heard that. That's the truth.
Mad comment, like, you know. But
it's like the announcers have actually, the people on the announce desk have actually drawn money.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It was so funny, like the way you just.
But you know what? A segue and a tie into the collectible show. If you haven't seen it, watch that. If you're into figures, we all are. The two boys who the boys bought the contracts off are always like there's men we love because they're good people and they've great personalities. But whenever you go to Smiths or anything, it's these men whose figures are always left on the shelf. Do you know what I mean? You've got 19 of one guy and like one old macho man you got lucky to buy, and you're like, and for some reason AEW keep offering contracts to the men where there's 19 figures left on the fucking shelf. Like if Tony Khan wants to know who to book next, go ask in your local fucking wherever your toy store is, which of the nostalgia figures sold out quickest. I was like, that's who we'll book.
Well,
speaking of which, Noel has a nice one there that arrived to his door today.
Yeah, it's there. It's actually, I haven't unwrapped it yet. Actually, I haven't unwrapped it. The box is down there.
Do a live unwrapping soon,
absolutely. But do you know what? I looked at the latest two sets of figures that are being released as well, and they should have just called them the Future Endeavor series. It's everyone that got let go.
I know.
You're fired. Season 1.
9 a.m. this morning, I checked my my email, as I always do, just to make sure I've got updates. And then I look in the promotions email, and Ringside Collectibles, shout out to you, always give me the latest releases. And it's like every single one of them. There was
Lana.
2 Braun Strowman series. There was Lana. And then in the Ultimate Edition, thankfully, we had Rock and Austin, which was great. Or no, Rock and Flair. And I was like, right, I'll keep an eye on those 2 bad boys, which don't arrive in Ireland anymore, lads. What he is doing, we're people too.
But you could just imagine Mattel or AEW going, where's those AEW boxes? Forget about those WWE boxes. Let's just repackage them quick. You know? Put an announcer's desk in with it. It'll be all good.
Just photocopy the different logo from a different company wrapped over the box. Like, don't even rebox them. Just rebrand them. Sharpie marker. You know, the Future Endeavor series.
Unbelievable.
Oh God, let's get into the fun of this now. Kenny Omega versus Pac versus Pockets. Ian, go ahead, take this one.
I don't know whether I'm drumming or I'm just finger pointing for the sake of it. Jazz hands, woohoo! The finger fucking point of doom. Yeah, I mean, I'm a Pac fan. How could I not be? I mean, I was seriously trying to convince myself that the reason I watched this is that Pac might fucking do it. Trying to put myself in that, you know, trying to mentally prepare myself. And I'm like, Ian, what are you doing to yourself? Yeah, Ian, what are you actually doing to yourself? He was the glue that held the match together, to be honest with you, when you watch it. He was absolutely phenomenal in everything he did. And listen, finger bang, and whatever Jim Cornette calls him, finger bang. The dude has athleticism. He's a good body. He's a good look. He's a big unit. You know, he does his little 20 steps. He's like, you know, the little run-ups that he does, and make sure that the finger is looking at the camera all the while he does it. It's like, this lad was a warrior, Mark. It's like, he's actually an embarrassment fucking to this. You know what? I'm not going to be stupid here and say the lad can't wrestle. Of course he can. And of course he can work. But the problem is he wants to do everything and too much and all the time. And to be honest, he just looks like a fucking cunt.
I don't know. I mean, it's no secret on this show that I hate triple threat matches.
But take a minute of time to hear what I said there. Let that register with people. He looks like a cunt. And the problem is he's not working. This is him. And we have to preface this by this little bitch, right, actually got upset midweek because Jim Ross was asked an opinion on who he thinks the best wrestler on the planet is. And Jim Ross said that Randy Orton for him is the best wrestler, bell to bell, on the planet. And AEW and all the little nut huggers and batty boys in AEW who literally just want to suck off the fucking nipples of Kenny Omega got a bee in their bonnet because Jim Ross dared have an opinion. No. And your man Cyrus or whatever his name is, Don Callis, sorry. They were all going. It was all, and apparently, like, Jim Ross was proper. Like, there was like justice for Kenny Omega was actually a thing going around.
Oh yeah, no, they were doing their little fucking.
So this lad is a little self-absorbed fucking shell of a man who literally didn't want to properly learn it. We know he has talent. So before anyone and listen, if you want to attack me, come at the king. I'm ready for it.
In the
comments, because I'm ready. Because I'll fucking hit his back and I'll bring you on the show and make you look like the little bitches that you are as well. The fact is, he is an absolute embarrassment as a world champion. He's not a world champion. The gimmick that he's portraying now, it's like elements. Is he trying to be Ric Flair with the glasses? There's elements. Is he trying to be this, trying to be
How
that?
did you feel? How did you feel about how he was introduced in that match? Wasn't there a little bit of a barb? Wasn't there the best champion in the world, not from North Carolina or something like that? I remember thinking, What?
Not from North Carolina. Yeah.
How dare you, sir?
But this is the level of disrespect that this man has for what came
Not disrespect, delusion.
Delusion. Like, I'm sorry, what I'm saying here is 100% correct. And listen, I don't know what your real name is, Kenny Omega. Sure, you're a nice lad at home when you're making fucking toast for whatever it is you make toast for. I doubt it's a woman anyway. He's like, you're whatever it is that you make fucking whatever for. You make me fucking mad, as you can quite clearly see.
We won't worry about his breakfast. Let's get to the point.
But the fact is, right, you're watching this guy and he wants to be called the best in the world and cries about it when he's not. This is like some lad, like, you know, like one of the actors getting a bee in their bonnet because they weren't voted the sexiest man in the world. And I think that happened when your man that played Captain America. Like, that was a joke and a laughing stock that went around the world. This is what this lad is. Kenny Omega, you don't even fit in the role of Randy Orton. You don't even come in the conversation. Like, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it again, Finn Balor is twice the performer that you are in the same kind of style that you're trying to portray. In fact, you were in the ring with a guy who's better than you. Pac. And then I heard that Don Callis say that Pac is like a more athletic version of Dynamite Kid. I was like, did you actually watch?
Well, no, that was fucking Jim, wasn't it?
No. Don Callis said he's like a more athletic version of Dynamite Kid. And then Jim came back and said, I've been saying for years that Pac reminds me of Tommy Billington, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
yes,
more athletic.
Yeah.
Now, fair enough, you could say athleticism, yeah, but I mean, look, there's not much in the difference there. I think he should have just come in. But like, these are just, I don't know, lads. Kenny Omega makes my blood boil.
Do you not find the psychology of a triple threat match is just weird? Because
it's redundant. It's redundant for a title.
But you're there and you beat the living hell out of a guy, and he goes to the outside, and you're trying to win a title. And instead of going after the guy that you've invested so much time in and beating the crap out of, you go over to start on the new guy.
Look, I've been a part of them. I was even in one with Jordan Devlin, right? And they are impossible to fucking put together without trying to maybe get a guy to stay on the outside for a while with a different agenda. So you can let the two boys work and then possibly have them come in and then another one goes out. It's very hard. But you mentioned, a very key word there, Noel, the psychology of it. It's impossible to have a triple threat with fucking lads that don't have any psychology to begin with, let alone being in a psychological match. Bar, like I say, Pac has all the tools in the world to, what was the Triple H wanted a few years ago? He watched Finn Balor, he watched Prince Devitt and Pac in a New Japan match and said, I want those two guys. They're the guys. They're my two that I need. And, let me ask, right, I don't know whether either of you want to play devil's advocate here because you're probably on my side on this one, but what is it that Kenny brings as a world champion when you're watching? Because for me, it looks like the same song and dance. It's a million miles an hour.
Do you know what he brings? I can
little
answer
dog
it.
Pockets was doing flips that just every time I look at them, I'm like, oh, he's going to break his neck, and I'm afraid for him.
I know. I can answer that. He brings a passport to other audiences.
Yeah.
They see themselves as the us against them company, right? Let's go to the square root of psychology. The square root of psychology is one word. Why? Why was there a triple threat match? After only in the last episode or two or three other, we were talking about WWE's year of triple threats. The company was low. The crowd was low. They're coasting and still putting out some excellent matches. But the peak of all of their main events over the last year was a triple threat. Now, you cannot impress an alternate audience when your biggest belt is being displayed in what seems to be an internal competition with somebody who shouldn't be your competition when you're putting yourself out there as an alternative. Why do you have a triple threat when the wrestling world has said we're sick of triple threats? This was the time to put on a primo defense of a title against another man. They could have, there's not too many high televised titles happening, let alone in front of a global, in front of a live audience. in front of what you want to be a syndicated program globally, which is what your mandate or your manifesto is. Why a triple threat? Let your wrestlers wrestle for us as viewers. Don't wrestle another company.
The story was building fucking what's his name? Orange Cassidy, right? Right. So take Pac out of the equation here, and you have Orange Cassidy getting a shot at the champion, right? And then Kenny Omega gets over even more because eventually he dominates him. And Orange Cassidy is just not, his arms aren't long enough to box with God kind of thing. You know what I mean? Of course, you make Orange look, I suppose, good and a worthy contender for a little while, but you have that, element of Don Callis outside, who is great and good at what he does, I have to say, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, I think he's probably the glue that's keeping that thing together. So you have those elements of Don Callis possibly causing Orange Cassidy this, but you take Pac out of the equation, you let Pac build himself up in his own way. And you look at it, and then Kenny gets even more reverence out of that. This is it's simple as a heel. Do you know what I mean? And it's simple, brick by brick building. Because I said this before, and Jay, I'll pass it back to you. Sorry, I just wanted to get this out. I said this before years ago. I said it with Finlay Martin when he was on the show the last time. I said, I want to see Kenny Omega succeed. Regardless of what I've just said before this, I'm still in that mindset. I want to see that. I do. I don't hate Kenny Omega. I don't hate him.
I'd like to like him more than he likes himself.
Yeah, I want to see him actually believe that character that he's doing, because it really is in him. You can tell that because he's obviously wants...
There's something there.
Yeah, but he obviously is so delicate in his mind that, like, if the announcer says that they don't believe he's the best wrestler in the world, he has a hissy fit and has to get all of his friends to trend on Twitter. That's obviously a lack of confidence in some weird kind of way, which shouldn't be the case, because I've mentioned it here, and Noel, you've heard me say it countless times. I believe Kenny Omega is a talented guy. He's definitely
he can do, he can work, but like I said,
but the problem is it's the booking, though, Jay.
Be a fan of him more than he's a fan of himself. But it's
that's what I'm saying.
It's gone past booking at this stage. It's ridiculous.
No, but that booking on that match should have been very simple. Kenny, we're going to get you over and over, more and more, brick by brick. Orange Cassidy could have went back down to mid-tier and still got himself over in a way. But this...
Well, let me put it this way, right? How I would have worked that match, right? If you want the world to watch your product, what you got to do is throw in a fucking swerve. And what I would have done, me and the shopkeeper are a complete agreement. Triple threats are a moot situation, but they don't have to be. What if, right, in the first bit where Kenny Omega has to lie down whilst Pac and fucking Orange Juice go, what if one puts the other in a headlock and whispers something into his ear, and the other one kind of nods, and he just gives him a shoulder shrug, a quick little fake 1-2, and then they both run down outside the ring and fucking tie Kenny Omega to a turnbuckle, because that belt can change hands when any two do it, and let the two boys go, and let fucking Kenny Omega wiggle away there whilst the match happens, and the two of them just go at it, and one of the two takes the belt, gets the rub, and runs into a cheap program with Kenny Omega for the next 6 months.
Well, that's logic, you see. They don't deal with that. What do you think, Noel, about the match?
No, I don't know. I just find when I just see triple threats, I just go.
Take triple threat out of it, because we've seen obviously at Mania 20, that it can work.
Yeah,
they were just trying to prove they can do a triple threat better than the competition.
Yeah, let's talk about the lads that we're talking about, though, Noel, because I'm interested in your opinion as well, because you said you had a lot to say about Omega today as well. Like,
yeah, well, I just find with him, it's just, I don't know. As you said, there's talent there. There's a great look. There's an ability there to give it, what it deserves. And it's just, again, it's like it's led by the crowd and by the internet community and stuff like that. And they just...
An ego.
They drive him a certain way, yeah. And I just think, I don't know, looking at the match, I don't know about Orange Cassidy, you know what I mean? I don't, like those little fake ankle kicks and all.
I'd love to see him drop that lazy shit, because the boy showed a few moves in that match, and he can go. He has a finesse. He does. There's something there.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it's the wrong gimmick. But you're right. That company is listening to the audience, whereas the other company fights its audience.
Well, a guy like him can be really, really successful in wrestling if you don't necessarily have to trust him into that top tier. He can find his place in the company and be very, very successful. And, you know, if they did go down the road of putting the belt on him, it's kind of like, I don't know.
Well, it's laughable. It's laughable. It's the same way if Jungle Boy wins it, it's laughable. As much of a fan I am of Jungle Boy, he's not a world heavyweight champion.
They need a cruiserweight belt.
They need a cruiserweight belt, and because they have the TV title, which I think is great. I love it. They need a US title for sure. And then they have that tier there. Do you know what I mean? It's three. It's like, and I know, Noel, you mentioned, it's just going to be Kenny with all the belts. And I mean, that finish, that ending was an absolute disgrace, hitting him with all the belts, every single belt, just to show how many he has. Like, this is really where my problem.
I think I was eating a burger at that point. I don't remember that.
It's just a dick measuring contest with Kenny. Do you know what I mean? It's like accolade. Look at what I can do.
But as you said, who backstage is turning around and going, right, well, tell me how this is going to go if he's an agent or whatever it is. Tell me how this is going to go. And he's going to go, well, I'm going to hit him with one belt, and then I'm going to hit him with another belt, and another belt, and another belt, and another belt. And someone's not going, you're going to hit him with 5 belts.
And he's not going to bleed either.
So what happens next time? Do you hit him with 10 belts? And what happens the time after that? Well,
if he's allowed, he's his biggest fan. But
you know what I mean? And then it's kind of like, the only kind of buzz I got out of the match was the way the whole gimmick of the hands and the pockets is now really to keep the jeans up on the little skinny fecker. You know what I mean? And it's not really the hands and the pockets gimmicks now. It's now the jeans are just coming down off because he's so skinny.
I felt sorry for Pac in this, I gotta say, and I think we need to have a word about Pac. I think he just looked phenomenal in the match. Anything he does is just crisp. It's snappy. He is basically the closest thing I've seen to Dynamite Kid, to be honest with you, in modern.
He's always gold, and he needs some.
Yeah.
And he needs some that suits his division. We again, like I said, the segmentation and division of a company, if you're going forward as a legitimate wrestling business, put a belt around Pac and let him have good hard work in another section of the show.
Pac,
I mean, they've got.
He'd be great for a next division.
Yeah,
X division
or next division on him or something like that, where he's in there with a lot of really good workers.
But he has as much. He has as much fucking charisma as Kenny Omega has, but it's natural charisma. And like,
but Ian, he can't win wrestling time. Winning belts is one thing, but winning time on the clock is another thing. And bless him, he's fucking super talented. And look, to go back to an old cliche, in a Shark Tank full of egos, he's probably, he's the one who said, fuck you, Vince. He was the first one to have integrity in what he loves as a business and say, it's not good enough for me. You're not doing that for me. I'd rather earn half the money somewhere else than twice the money doing nothing. And he's
which is so strange. It's contradictory to think that that's where he ends up.
But you see, he would. I have a feeling. But Noel, I have a feeling that these lads are getting promised the sun, moon, and stars. Like, give it time. When these shoots eventually come out and these contracts end, it'll all come out.
Them two are being groomed for next year.
Definitely. There is no doubt that they are being promised the sun, moon, and the stars. They're not just going there, they're not all going there for the paycheck, especially someone like Pac, who did, as Jay said, actually have some integrity there. I'd say Christian as well is like, what the fuck did I do? Yeah. You know.
Listen, Christian has a history of that, but we got to look globally past this pandemic. They're not going to waste Pac's appeal in Europe when they become a globally touring company again. There's something for him. And if we have, via marketing, if we have to suffer, look, the both of them are in the ring for reasons. One, Pac is a European fucking wrestler who has a pedigree far beyond anything else in the company, and he also has a look and a commitment to his gimmick. It's inevitable. He's a fucking almost like a smaller Cesaro. He ain't going away. He'll always be in the mix simply because why? He is the fucking mix. He's the spoon that stirs the porridge. He can go like a motherfucker. He has a look like he was raised under a bridge troll. He's a natural. He just is. Everything screams, give me telly time. He'll get his rub eventually. And the other fella, Cassidy, was in that mix because his t-shirts are flying off the shelf. In this business, that's
in their scale, they're flying off the shelf.
In their demographic. But this is what that company is basing
they're
itself
happy
on.
with 50 t-shirt sales. Oh, Orange, you bet you hit the big 50. You can imagine HR.
Ian, there's two markets. There's contemporary and alternative. Contemporary is already owned by the other company who are massive, and the alternative is the fans left that don't want that and want something different.
No, I'm well aware of that, but their fan base is very, very small. Like
it is
on a grand scheme of things. Like it's not.
It is.
But anyway, let's get on to the best match of the night.
What? Was that not 3 or 4 matches back? No.
Oh yes. You know, as Huey Lewis once said, "Tell me, doctor, where are we going this time? Is this the first match or is it fucking number 9?
4 hours of fucking this show. 4 hours.
And that doesn't even include the other hour and the hour you get there before things start.
Oh,
so most of those butts and seats were 6 hours.
Speaking of this match, I need a piss.
Rather watch cricket. Yeah, all right. Me and Noel will hold the fort for you. Go on.
Fire away.
Feel free to hold it all you want.
Hold your piss and stay with us.
Oh, God, I just don't know where we start with this match. I just, what is there anything left in the world that wasn't in this match?
Well, like even the start, right? You're thinking MJF is coming out. This, you know, even MJF was struggling for things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, there's a lad who doesn't struggle for words. It's like, what have I been told to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you see the boys basically doing their Navy SEAL fucking like. But they looked like they were terrified. I was like, oh, good Lord, no.
But they were terrified.
I know. And it was only near the end when Jericho like got down towards like the bottom and he said, even if I fall here, I'll be all right.
Yeah, he grew a bit of chest came out and grew a bit of balls. Like,
But before that, he's like, shit.
He was hanging onto the thing like
fuck me. And this isn't to make a joke of that thing, was like, but they know that like the Owen thing was this month and all. It was like, it was needless.
This is not the thing to be doing.
No, and that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that, you know, and you know exactly where I feel on that. It was one of those needless things that really didn't need to be done. They could have looked better coming out of smoke or coming out of that sign, just standing there looking like beasts. You know what I mean?
Why didn't they come in with the Motorboy Club?
Yeah.
Like they did loads of different options.
Oh,
these lads abseiling down out of the stadium. I'm there going, oh, good Lord.
We're obviously going to wait till Jay comes back to talk about Jericho, but good Lord. You know, if Father Time it's I thought like a year or two ago, I thought, Jesus, Jericho looks like he can go for a while, but like it's starting to look now like it's like where
now it's beginning to look like a paycheck.
It's kind of looking a little bit sad, to be honest with you. It's like the old man hanging around with the cool kids kind of thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's kind of like, he's beginning to look like the 60-year-old lad at the back of the Guns N' Roses concert, still singing Paradise City.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it. That's exactly what it is. No, fuck Paradise City. It's all about Mr. Brownstone. Fuck you. You kids don't know the real Guns N' Roses. Do you know what I mean? That's exactly what I was with them since the day they started at the Roxy in 1978. You know? It's like, you just don't know how good you have it. It's like,
and not only that, I was 50 back then.
Yeah. I'm just on that good adrenochrome now. And
what you're making? I know we're both big fans of MJF. What you're making of MJF at the moment? It's kind of like, is it I don't know what way to put it. I was a big MJF fan.
Yeah.
But I just so wanted them to go to WWE or NXT.
There's been a loss of momentum, hasn't there? I feel, and I mean, is that creative? Like, is that like, because I think MJF can make chicken shit out of chicken salad. Now, I have to say, the exchanges that they had some of them were pretty funny. Do you know what I mean? Like they were, if you were able to just kind of not be serious for a minute.
But the narrative of the match, the narrative that was set out in the match, didn't lend itself to what they ended up doing.
No. Now I have to say there was some good. I did see some good stiff punches from Jericho that looked good. Jay talked earlier about punches, and it took a veteran to get a punch in. Jericho hit him with some punches in that looked really fucking nice. You know what I mean? And it was like nice. But then it's like, I'm going to slide you against the table, and then I'm going to go in there with the fucking head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars or whatever they're called, Panthers, and throw footballs at your head.
Yeah. And then give me a laptop. And then I'm going to staple a card to your forehead. and then it just became insane. And it was just like, 1 minute we're in this kind of, 1 minute we're sort of in the stadium. Then the next minute we're in a coach's room. Then the next minute we're in a bar, like a nightclub.
And they're all taking shots.
And then it was like, the way
with Conan and the decks.
Yeah, it was like they
Conan. He was the star of the show.
It was like you zoomed in on Conan on the decks, and you were expecting this massive eruption, and they didn't realize that the crowd was back in the stadium, fast asleep nearly at this stage, panned out, saying, "Please, when's the finish? I want to go home." And like it was like
Riba la razza.
And even the four lads go in and they have a shot and there's nearly fist pumping. Next thing they're knocking the shite out of each other, and Conan just strutting over, and there you go.
And Conan breaking shit up then, and then the two boys, I was like, one of them is trying to stab a 70-year-old Tully Blanchard. They're trying to stab him.
Like that had happened in real life.
Yeah.
Ern would be doing the stabbing, we know this.
According to Taker, it happens. but then you're looking at
only 45s were on Conan's decks.
Yeah, and then you're looking at Sean Spears and he's going, "Fuck, here's Sons of Anarchy. I better get the fuck out of here." And then they're going, "This is getting really, really bad."
Sean Spears is a lad, and I said this yesterday in a text with you boys as well, that I just can't take to. It's like and you know what I was thinking?
I wanted to say something, but I didn't know who he was, so I kept my silence.
Yeah, like, so he's well, there you go, case in point. He's the first one that kind of came from WWE, and they thought it was a coup that they could make into a star and put him with Tully Blanchard. And like his ring gear was great. Do you know what I mean? He cut the hair and made the mohawk, but he's just vanilla. He's a large man, but he's just vanilla, and now he's the chairman. It's like, what are you even? Like, oh my God. It's like, look, sometimes I like the taste of vanilla Ben & Jerry's. It's absolutely gorgeous. But to be honest with you, not nice to look at.
Did anyone else think that this match was kind of a bit insane in terms of they had a full live crowd there?
A bit insane? What are you talking about?
But a full live crowd.
A hell of a way to waste a live crowd.
Yeah, and that's
they should have filled the stadium.
Also, I know I use again the analogy of the dance and dance partners, and usually I mean that with gravitas. It's more the dance. I insinuate that there is consequences to this dance that can be mortal at times. This actually looked like watching the last sequence in West Side Story. I mean, fucking sugar glass bottles and do.
How did the boys look actually in the fucking when they went into the freezer?
I don't remember that bit. I was eating chicken nuggets.
And the scene with all the chairs neatly stacked around the walls.
Yeah.
And this lad sitting in the middle of it in a chair with the blue light beaming down on him. And I was just there going, what is this?
Do you know what? It looks like something Charles Manson would have put together for the Manson family. They're scared of him.
No, you know what it was? It was like playing SmackDown versus Raw. You remember them boiler room fucking matches you had to have back when them games were original, and you just go from sequence to sequence because you know it was 03 and there was no fucking gateway corridors.
Where would you like to go? The locker room, the bathroom, the boiler room. Yeah.
1 minute I'm watching fucking the Sharks versus the Jets in the chair room, and then I blink, and the next thing you know, the Sons of Anarchy are driving down on their dad's Sunday bikes, and I'm like, why aren't they speeding up? They could catch him if they want. Those are fucking, those are motorcycles. If they wanted to catch him, they could probably do that.
Who looked like he was trying really hard to fucking, oh God, this is actually mental now that I can't even remember his name. What's his name? Oh, Jericho's little right-hand man, the Mexican fellow. What's his name?
Sammy Guevara.
He looked like he was trying really hard to make something out of it, didn't he? Like,
and did in the end.
He did.
The last time he spent his football fucking pitch match running from golf buggies. Of course he was crying.
Pie ball horses.
No, like he looked
he
like
spent the last one running. He's like,
he
no,
just looked like he was trying to make some credibility out of what the fuck he was meant to be doing.
I can't get with Guevara. I can't get into him.
No, but I'm
tongue sticking out thing. I'm just not into it. I'm like,
just trying to
pick
weird. Out something positive, Jay. Give me a break.
I can't. I mean, you spoke about cancer earlier on. This wasn't wrestling. It was like a Mel Brooks skit. Do you know what I mean? Remember Blazing Saddles when they fall into the studio
but that was good,
and all the show was? It was.
Yeah, but that was
very
good.
Monty
Python could have come up with something this. Couldn't have come up with something this ridiculous.
It's just,
and they wrote the meaning of life.
I just looked at it and I was going, you know what? I enjoyed the Boneyard match, but has it created something that we didn't really want? It's just.
Oh God!
I don't know. I just look at it and I go, I don't even know where to begin. It's like if you got 6 matches, and it was like as if we were looking at WrestleMania again in all these different locations, but it was the one match. Just where to begin? You know what I mean? It was like
it was a vehicle for Jericho's one-liners. I mean, he wrote some funny shit throughout the last 6 years. He never got to use anywhere. It was like, I'm going to use these here.
Yeah, but can you imagine Hogan? Like Hogan's beating the shit out of Bundy in the cage. And the next minute he pops up on the screen in the Battle Royal. And the next minute he pops up on the other screen and he's punching the head off Bob Orton and Don Morocco or something like that.
In fairness,
what is this?
With him, possibly he used the wrong lad. If technology was available, he'd have fought in every match, like in the world. No, it was. I can't even. It was a hell of a way. It was a hell of a way to finish one of your premier PPVs. It like. You're going to pay that much money for this. I mean, if anything, the card was backwards. I should have started with that football fuckery and finished with Cage versus Page.
I don't know. I think people would have went home if that was the starting match. I think I would have left. I would have just left. I couldn't.
Well, you know what? At least this time they didn't have to watch it on the screen before the other card. You know, I mentioned
earlier on. Have you ever seen a wrestler lose his credibility in the space of 2 years as quickly as anybody as Chris Jericho has done? I mean, this is the guy coming out in the head, like basically against one of his mates in Randy Orton, who used to be a friend, going, that's a disgrace. Kenny Omega is the best in the world. Like literally trying to be the old man with the young lads.
I'm not going to run with that narrative. Simply because, one, he really fucking tried for the first 6 months when he was Le Champion. He gave it his fucking all. What I think was when he went in there,
statements he was making are what is
you've got to stand
credibility for him.
Once you take the paycheck, you got to back the company. That's just, you know, I don't even listen to his statements anymore.
Jericho knows well the answer to that question.
Yeah, I think. He tried so hard the first 6 months. I think when he was offered this as a new job, like, this is what we're going to be. This is what we want to be. And he was looking at this going, you know, we could fucking do this. I'm willing to walk away from more money than most of you will ever earn in your whole lives. We can do this. And I think he just got snowballed by the fucking MVPs and their segmentation of the show. And he looked at it from a proper professional wrestling perspective and said, this is a non-cohesive mess or an incohesive mess. I'm just going to go with the flow.
When Jericho's book number 8 comes out, this is going to be great, isn't it? Because it will be. Yeah. It will be. Yeah. Yeah,
no, I think he's just rolling with the punches now and waiting it out because he tried hard to steer the ship in the right direction, but every sale was going against him. It's like,
I'd agree. I'd be in agreement with you here. And the reason I asked that question is because I'd be remiss to not ask that question. Like, have you seen a wrestler lose his credibility? Because with a lot of people, he kind of has. I'm kind of more of the mindset that you boys are, that he's just like, I tried, lads.
He fucking tried.
I think he's kind of evolved into everything that he hated in the NWO and the Clique, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's nearly become a parody of the stuff that he fought against for years.
Yeah, he's become a parody of himself. Yeah, for sure. I would believe that. I don't think that's unfair.
Yeah. Well, certainly it was interesting to say the least.
It sure was something.
I just hope our
Something's
viewers,
better than nothing, I suppose.
I just hope our viewers and our listeners understand the journeys that we travel to bring you these every week. Until next time, men, Dynamo Podcast Network. We live in hope of one day AEW. Until next time, thank you, my men.
Rooting for you.